It's not surprising that people are speculating what FromSoftware is releasing after Armored Core 6 and Elden Ring's Shadows of the Erdtree DLC. And a leak posted back in May on 4chan seems to have slightly more credibility now that another supposed leak was posted on Reddit a couple weeks back. Before we get into the video, however, I want to preface this by saying that anything mentioned in this video has yet to be officially confirmed. We cannot say for sure that any of this info is accurate or even real, and while I hope everything mentioned from here on is closer to true than not, I'd like to tell everybody to take this information with a grain of salt. Now that that's out of the way, let's get into it. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with the timeline of how the leaks and information played out, but for those who aren't, or who just need a refresher, back in May, an anonymous user on 4chan released some details about FromSoftware's supposed next project, rumored to release after Armored Core 6. The leaker called the game Spellbound and released some details about the game, including setting, map size, gameplay mechanics, announcement dates, among other details. At the time, and even now, people have been skeptical of the leaks. Some, like myself, are hopeful that the information is accurate, especially because, if true, it would seem like a promising next step for the developer. Here are the leaked details about Spellbound that we know so far, and remember, take it with a grain of salt. According to the leaks, Spellbound is directed by Miyazaki himself, and will be published by FromSoftware. The game, if leaks are true, has been in production since mid-2021, with a release date aimed for Q1 of 2025, possibly around February or March. At first, it was leaked that the game would make its first appearance at this year's TGA, but this most recent Reddit leak suggests that that won't be the case, and that a June 2024 trailer reveal is much more likely. Spellbound will be a next-gen game only, releasing on the PS5, Xbox Series X, and PC. The game will take place in the city of Kenwraith or Genwraith, a flourishing empire built near the sea and filled with palaces, towers, and castles, likely set at the height of its rule, and has a vibe that's completely opposite of the traditional setting of FromSoftware games. The city itself is said to be sectioned off in layers, with water separating each section, and judging from the leaks, the sea will be a theme throughout the game. The 4chan leak back in May suggested that the player will be able to swim and traverse the water and even explore underwater areas, while the Reddit leak mentioned that they haven't encountered anything like that. If the former is to be believed, then it will be the first time players get to swim in a FromSoft game since Sekiro. The overall aesthetic of Spellbound is heavily inspired by 18th century European architecture, and the city will act as one big legacy dungeon and is supposedly FromSoftware's most interconnected world to date. It seems there are two different areas to Spellbound, the first being the city, which is more dungeon-like, and the area outside of the city, which serves as the game's open world area where players can explore a range of environments from farmland to mountains and forests, caves, coastal areas, villages, and even smaller dungeons. The game is rumored to be about 2/3 the size of Elden Ring, and Spellbound, just like Elden Ring, will feature a day and night cycle that'll have some influence on the areas and enemies. The 4chan leak mentions that they have yet to find out if there will be any chalice dungeons, and the Reddit leak makes no mention of this. And the only reason I bring it up is because there has been some speculation that Spellbound will be a spiritual successor to Bloodborne, but the leaks strongly suggest that this won't be the case. Conflicting reports from both leaks arise when it comes to Spellbound's protagonist. The Reddit leak claims that Spellbound has a set protagonist and suggests that it's possibly the character we see in the leaked art. The Reddit leaker also states that they have yet to see a character creation screen and that the protagonist doesn't seem to be a speaking character either. But the leak from 4chan states that there is a character creator, which runs counter to the Reddit leak, and at this point, it's hard to determine which source to believe, if any. It's a speculation of mine that both can be true to some degree. It's possible that there's a set protagonist that you can customize slightly in terms of selecting a gender and possibly age and appearance, but I guess we won't know for sure until the game is confirmed and gameplay is released. One area both leaks seem to align on is character clothing customization, and they go one step further and state that clothing, aside from being aesthetically customizable, will also have a direct impact on your character's resistances, buffs, and abilities. Some examples given by the leaks is that Spellbound will feature clothing that emits water, giving you a stronger resistance to fire, or clothing that can make you hover in the air and change the way that you dodge. This system is pretty in-depth according to both leaks and offers a huge range of attribute customization opportunities. You'll also be able to change the fabrics, colors, and patterns, which provides the option to make your character stand out and look unique, which is the perfect middle ground if there's a set protagonist. If we take Armored Core 6's mech customization as an example of what Spellbound's customization could be, I think we'll be in good hands. The Reddit and 4chan leaks provided a lot of details surrounding the potential mechanics of Spellbound, and if true, seem promising not only for the game, but for the development of FromSoftware fighting mechanics going forward. It's no surprise with a name like Spellbound that combat will be heavily focused around spells. According to the leaks, spells will not consume mana, but a form of stamina instead. Also, spells don't have a finite amount of uses. As long as you have the stamina or energy to cast the spell, you'll be able to cast it indefinitely. Spellbound evolves casting mechanics by introducing the ability to dual-wield spells, which unlocks more moves and allows spells to deal more damage. According to the leaks, spells will have movesets similar to melee weapons and feature a heavy and light attack, and can combo using variations of R1 and R2 inputs. Players won't need stabs or wands to cast these spells either. The character will be able to cast using just their hands. Despite the main combat focus being spell-based, Spellbound is suggested to have melee weapons as well. The leaks suggest that a variety of weapon types including swords, greatswords, axes, scythes, spears, among others, will be present in the game, and melee-only playthroughs will still be a viable option. One detail that's led some people to suggest that Spellbound is the spiritual successor to Bloodborne is the mention that melee weapons will have a magical alternate form. The 4chan leak suggests that this system is similar to Elden Ring's Ashes of War and gives weapons magical projectiles, magical properties and movesets, and even transformations according to the Reddit leak. Weapon transformations are definitely reminiscent of Bloodborne's trick weapons and can very well be FromSoft's attempt to refine and expand on that mechanic. However, I think if the leaks are true, expanding on this mechanic is about the limit to this feature. I don't think this makes Spellbound a spiritual successor to Bloodborne, but the good news is that if these leaks are true, then it would be Miyazaki's attempt to play with some trick weapon ideas for Bloodborne 2, which can be the actual successor to Bloodborne, as opposed to the spiritual successor like Spellbound is speculated to be. Overall, the details leaked that the combat is going to be more spell focused and that weapons will follow along that same theme is very promising. And I hope it's true, because while spells are very diverse in FromSoft games, it would be nice to see weapon and spell synergies that are a little bit more refined than what we've seen from past titles. Other minor mechanics that were brought up in both leaks mention that the player will be able to crouch, jump, and hug walls, with the latter being a first for From Software, if I'm remembering correctly. Sekiro could possibly have that mechanic. It's been a while since I've played that game. Aside from wall hugging being used to shimmy tight areas, it could also be used as an extension to sneaking. Either way, it might be a minor but welcome bonus. The lantern in the supposed artwork of Spellbound is said to have more gameplay use rather than just lighting up dark areas. The lantern will show illusory walls and hidden items, and could possibly have other gameplay benefits as well, and is another way to expand on the use for this staple FromSoft item. Again, all of this information should be taken with a grain of salt, but if true, could be some very good news and give insight on the types of things FromSoft and Miyazaki are choosing to focus on. And those mechanics can evolve with future FromSoft titles beyond Project Spellbound. Bloodborne is a series that comes directly to mind when stating this due to the parallels with trick weapons and spells. I'd love to see a more refined version come out for Bloodborne, especially if these leaks for Spellbound turn out to be true. Aside from the things we went over in this video, the leaks also briefly touched on a few minor points as well. Both the 4chan and Reddit leaks mention that multiplayer is a possibility, and while it would be nice, not much information was mentioned about this aspect of Spellbound. Also, it seems that Spellbound will be more action-oriented and not so much RPG-focused. The 4chan leak places Spellbound between Sekiro and Bloodborne in terms of how RPG-focused the game is. FromSoftware has been improving on their systems with each Souls-like release. One example is with Sekiro. When Sekiro first released, it introduced a new mechanic from the developer at the time, crouching and sneaking. We then saw that feature come back in Elden Ring, and even Elden Ring improved on Dark Souls 3 weapon art mechanics with Ashes of War. Spellbound, if the leaks are true, seems that it can continue with this trend and expand on clothing customization mechanics as well as attribute, spell, and combat mechanics. Spellbound also gives Miyazaki an opportunity to experiment with the idea of expansive legacy dungeons, as well as water traversal, which would be a first in the Souls-like series since Sekiro, and could possibly be a welcome addition for the developer. It's no surprise that there is a lot of skepticism surrounding Project Spellbound. While the second leak supports and expands on the first, especially with the inclusion of the screenshot that's allegedly from the game, people question the validity of that image, calling it AI-generated art. One user said that they put the image in an AI detecting software and it came back positive, suggesting that the image is indeed AI generated. However, other users mentioned that AI detecting software is known for coming back with false positives and that alone cannot verify the image is fake. AI generated art has always had a tough time with hands, but it's gotten better with time, and users pointed out that the hand holding the lantern looks a little too small and kind of weird. Honestly, it's difficult to make a call at this time. The image could very well be fake, but only time will tell. The leaks put a timeline of June 2024 for a first reveal, so the only thing for us to do in the meantime is wait, and of course play Armored Core 6 and the Elden Ring DLC. But in the meantime, it's possible that more leaks will come out before then, and as always, we need to take any info about Spellbound with a grain of salt. But regardless, whenever I hear anything related to Project Spellbound, I'll update you guys, so make sure you subscribe and leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Comment if there's anything that I missed, but until then, my name is Snake Eyes with 1UP Gaming. Take care, and I'll catch you on the next one.